Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Today I want to continue my discussion from where we had ended in our previous lecture, where I had demonstrated how we open a new larger document. For most paperback books, it's enough if you open a new A3 document in the horizontal mode or in the landscape mode, and then starting with the first box, which we drew with 5 inches width and 8 inches height. We then did step and repeat to get the spine box, after which we adjusted the thickness of the spine box, and then we did step and repeat to this, and we got our front cover box, right? Then we magnified to the corners. We drew our first set of these green guides, which are available from the ruler on the top and the ruler on the left. We also marked the centers of all the 3 boxes, and of course, before drawing the guides, we selected all the boxes, we grouped all the boxes, and at the bottom of the page, there is an option called Space Align, where we chose the page relative mode and then chose both of these centers. Remember, that's the best way to get all the boxes right in the middle of your Quark document. But remember to group, otherwise the boxes will all get merged. Once it's right in the center, you draw the first set of guides, then you choose the magnifying glass and you magnify by pretending to draw a little box with it. And then we created our crop marks. A crop mark is a little line which is 0.118 inches in length or 3 millimeters in length. We drew the first one, then we copy pasted and gave 0 as the angle to create this horizontal one where the mouse is now hovering. And then we did step and repeat to get them on all 4 sides. Once they were done, we drew a second set of guides and we moved the crop marks away from the design. And the last touch that we have to do is to simply open up the box handles so that they are touching the outer green guides. Now, by doing this, we have provided bleed. And I brought in a front cover to show you that this is approximately how we have just now artworked the cover. Artworking a cover means we make it to measurement, right? Back cover, spine, front cover, etc. We make it to measurement. And for example, if I now go back to the butterfly picture with which we have been working, I can bring this picture in. Wonderful. This picture has come in, it's quite large. If I want, I can make it a little smaller by pushing and pulling the handles. Remember now, we are not, because we are doing a cover artwork, our boxes will remain static. The boxes have been drawn to the precise instructions of the book, the printer. So now, if I want to make the butterfly bigger or smaller, the only freedom I am allowed is I double click and I can manipulate the picture. I can't change the box. If I change the box size, the artwork will be destroyed. The measurements will not be accurate, right? So if I assume that this is going to be my front cover, and if I want, I can copy paste the same picture into the back cover, or I can obviously have another butterfly picture. If we want, we can flip the picture. There is a little arrow here that flips the picture this way and that way. It also flips it up and down like this. That depends on my design style. Okay, I'm making it much bigger if I wish, etc. This is up to you, how you want to design it, what kind of picture you want to bring in. Do you just want to perhaps have a color on your back cover, and so on. A few things that I want to show you about covers is now, I'm going to sort of show them to you now. The first is the front cover must have the book's title, okay? The book title is mandatory. So you put the title, You make the font as large or small as you want, and then you of course change the font size. Let's say we are going to go with this. Okay, I can make it white, blue, pink, whatever color. I'm leaving obviously the color choice and the aesthetics up to you. Many publishers want the book title to be quite large, to be quite prominent, because it must be visible. You will remember we have discussed the idea of the thumbnails. So in Amazon or any other online site, or even on the publisher's website, the front cover will become quite small when it is seen as a little thumbnail, and the publisher wants that the book title be available even in that small size. So it is mandatory that we have the book title on the front cover. In some cases, the publisher may request you to also put, I'm so sorry, I've drawn a picture box by mistake. I must delete this. I need another text box. The publisher may also request you to put the subtitle, right? The subtitle of the book on the cover, because just the title may not often be enough to let the reader know what kind of book it is. In which case, good book designers, good cover designers will make sure that the title is possibly the largest, and then the subtitle is a little smaller and has some typographic style that sets it very visibly apart from the book title. If you are looking at my screen, you will notice my book title is the largest typeface, and it is in what we would call upper lowercase, whereas my subtitle is a little smaller and I have made it all caps. This way, anyone looking through their positioning, through their typographic difference, I am very easily conveying the difference between the subtitle and the title. In this case, I don't even have to put a colon or a dash after the title to indicate that this is the most important part and what follows is the second. Please be very aware of this. Please also note now, because I am keeping my title center aligned, and I'm going to magnify a little bit now. My title is center aligned on the cover, right? Please note, this is now where my green guide, which I had drawn earlier through the center of the box, this is where it comes in useful, because I can zoom in and I can move my text box so that the center handle of the text box is running through the center guide on the front cover. I must also make sure not just the box is center. Sometimes designers forget, they center the box, but within the box the title is left aligned or right aligned. If you've centered the box, also do center alignment for the text, and I choose my subtitle and I've also made sure that is center. So centered boxes, centered text, and obviously somewhere, and this will depend on, again, in most cases, your publisher's instructions, there must obviously be the author's name or names depending on how many authors there are. Now, of course, please keep changing the typeface. Ideally, just as in your good typesetting, not more than 2 or 3 typefaces. Okay? Make them look different by applying color. Make them look different by changing their size. Make them look different by maybe making something italic, something plain, something upper lower, and so on. So here is my author's name. It is center aligned. I must center align this box as well. Okay? So if I now hide my guides, this is a workable layout for a book. These 3 objects are mandatory on a front cover. At most, in some cases, you may drop the subtitle. The instruction will come from the publisher. Some publishing houses also like to have their logo, and I'm indicating the presence of the logo with this little white circle over here. This instruction also will come to you from the publisher. Some publishing houses like the logo here at the bottom, some like it here, etc. They have a style. Can you see the little circle going? It depends on the style of the publishing house. You will be instructed that it needs to be it needs to be present, and you must put it. The logo will also be supplied to you. In many cases, publishers will also have a few endorsements which they will send you. An endorsement is basically a few lines of praise for the book from either another famous author, some kind of famous personality. It could be from a review that has appeared in a fairly well-known publication. Many of you may have seen books that say things like, "What a wonderful book this is," The Telegraph, or "You must absolutely read this book," Salman Rushdie. Praise, little quotations praising the book. That will help a reader gain confidence about the book's quality and content, even if they are unfamiliar with the writer. So it is now almost an accepted part of cover design that there will be a minimum of one, if not more. And so the quote will appear like this somewhere. The quotation will be supplied to you by the publisher, so you don't have to worry about that. But what you will have to worry about is the color, the typeface, the alignment, right? And the positioning of that quotation, how big or small it will be. Will it be the same typeface as the title, or would you like to choose something little different, right? And how you position it. So that is going to be your responsibility. The matter will be supplied to you. Where you put it, how elegantly or inelegantly you put it. Sometimes, like this book, I'm showing you one. We can copy paste this box and we can pretend that there are two quotations on how marvelous this book is. Now, to my eye, because I have these two quotations and they are right aligned, I might consider changing the center alignment to, in fact, a right alignment, so that all of my text on the cover is aligned to the right. Can you see how symmetry is being established? This box, and this box, and these two boxes, they are all right aligned, right? And therefore, there is a certain balance. If you want to quickly right align all of them, come down to space align. Instead of page relative, you must choose item relative and then say right align. And now all the boxes are following one line. This looks much better. All the text on one side, right? If you wish to not use the butterfly this way, you can also flip the butterfly this way and earn some space. That is, up to you, and also depends on what kind of illustration you are using, right? This perhaps looks a little better. We can leave it like this. Now, this is mandatory for the front cover. Now we come to the spine. You copy paste the author's name from the front cover and you rotate. Remember, this rotation arrow comes when you hover. You rotate the box in this direction. If you don't wish to rotate, select the box, come down to the home option and simply look for the angle of the box, and in the angle just put minus 90 degrees. Okay, please make sure the direction is correct. You have to move your head to the right in order to be able to read the author's name. Typeface must be the same, although the color can change, and the size can just be a little smaller. Don't invent or don't locate yet another typeface for the name of the author. Okay, those elements must remain the same. We have to have the author's name and we have to have the book title, right? Here we have the book title. I've copy pasted the box from the front cover. I am simply making this a little smaller and I am rotating it and I place it on the spine. Okay, these two items are mandatory and the logo on the spine is also compulsory, and you can adjust the spine, the size depending on the thickness of the spine. Now I turn my guides on again and I zoom in. Okay, I'm zooming in quite a bit and I am trying to see if my alphabets are going exactly down the middle of the spine. Remember that central guide that we had drawn earlier? This is why we do it. I can see I'm looking at the H. Look where my cursor is. The center of the H should go through the line. So I move my box a little bit. And now I check the title. Ideally, it should go through the B. Look for a letter where you can spot a center, and the green guide should be going through the center of that letter, in which case your book author's name and your book title have been properly centered. Okay, Same with the box that holds your logo. Just magnify and you can see this center handle of my logo must actually go through my green guide. Can you see? This is why drawing the green guides in the beginning helps establish the center of every box. On my front cover, please note there is at least a 1/4 inch gap. Okay? Don't have your box sitting like this, just absolutely on the edge of the cover, because it will get chopped off during the trimming process. This is too close, even this is too close. Ideally, leave a 1/4 inch gap. If you are unsure, you can always draw a picture box like you had done on your master page. Make the width 0.25 inches. I'm just going to go down and say 0.25, and I can see, yes, I'm home safe. Nothing will get lost. Make sure this sits on the guide and put all your lettering inside, and when you're done, you can simply delete this box. On the back cover, it is often mandatory to have a write-up on the book. That is often called the blurb. So once again, you will be sent that text by your publisher. Not to worry, you don't have to write it yourself. It will have quite a bit of text, so you just have to fill it up here, right? Let's assume this is the text. And now the decision is yours. What typeface it must be? Let's see. Let's choose this one called Gentium. This does not need to be bigger than 11 or 12. You can, as the designer, decide whether it will be center aligned, whether it will be right aligned, whether the box will be long, tall, thin, fat. Also remember, this will depend on the illustration that you are using, how much area there actually is on that illustration. For text, sometimes we have to create a colored box like this and put the blurb into it. Sometimes this back cover text is called a blurb. And then if you're having text in a colored box, remember I had taught you about the inset. Come down and then just increase the inset so that the text is not touching the edges of this colored box. Okay, this is mandatory. And another bit that is mandatory is that you have to leave space at the bottom, which we designers often do in the form of a white box like this, where you will have the barcode, which is a series of black and white stripes that helps identify the book. You will have the price, you will have a website, you will have a bookstore category that often says fiction, non-fiction, politics, history, geography, etc. That category helps both the reader to identify and understand the book's content. It also helps the bookseller figure out on what bookshelf that book will fit and or be displayed when the physical copies land up. This, therefore, is a back cover, right? Now, all of this that we have here, and I have shown you, I'm going to hide the guides for a moment. These are all absolutely essential parts of a book cover in a paperback book. Front, spine, back cover, write-up on the book. Sometimes there might even be a small write-up here about the author. A strip left in alignment with this area that will contain various objects. The spine must have a logo here. A logo on the front cover is optional and depends from publisher to publisher. You definitely need the title. You definitely need the author's name. Some publishers, depending on the book that they are requesting you to design, may or may not require the subtitle, and they may or may not give you quotations or endorsements, but you have to, if they are given to you, then you have to worry about their typographic, representation. What typeface will you put them in? How big will they be? Where will they be evident? Will you need to change their color, etc.? And I'm now going to show you a jacket, a hardback jacket that I have here, where two additional elements are added. Two additional elements compared to the paperback cover that I have just shown you, and those two additional elements are called flaps. Okay. Now, can you see my crop marks? Here's a crop mark. I'm going to magnify. Here's a crop mark. All the crop marks are still there, sitting at the top, just as I have taught you, right? The two additional elements is this. This is the back flap, the blue box that you can see on the extreme left. This is the front flap that you can see on the extreme right. If I delete these two flaps, you are left with a paperback cover. Can you see, does that make sense now? This was your back cover, this was your spine, the purple box, and this box with the visual is your front. When you need to do a jacket, you simply need to add the flaps in exactly the same way that you were working on the paperback. Instead of beginning your step and repeat process with the orange box, you need to begin with the back flap. Usually in the designs that we have been doing so far, usually back flaps can be 3.75 inches wide. Okay, for most hardback jackets, our backs are frozen at 3.75, within which, please note, even for the flaps, we mark the center with the green guide. If I turn on my guides, you'll be able to see my center box was done, and this text box, please look at the position of this text box. There is comfortable space on all sides. The center of this text box is running through the center of the guide. So when the book is done and trimmed, when this excess will go at the time of trimming, this excess will go at the time of trimming, and when the book comes to me, my text box on the back flap I know is perfectly centered to my finished flap size. Okay, this is the importance of drawing the guides earlier. There are just two new, and here we have the front flap. The same logic applies. Whatever width and height you have of the box on the front flap should mirror the width and height that you have of the box on the back. It should be identical. The flap text can be a serif font. Flap text can be 10 or 11 or a maximum of 12 for most book sizes. Okay, 10, 11, 12 for most book sizes, irrespective of how big or small your title text is. Not to worry, this doesn't need to be more than 10, 11 or 12 depending on the font you are choosing. Please also observe that in a hardback jacket design, the front flap contains the information on the book. Okay, a summary text of the book's content can be found in the front flap. The back flap always contains information on the writer, the editor, the translator, all the people who created this book. Okay, or what we would call bio notes. The bio notes come at the back, the book summary comes in the front. You may put another very elaborate visual on the back cover. We did not have a matching visual. We didn't want a completely alarmingly different visual for this book. So we had only, we decided that we would just play up the colors. The colors you see here on this hardback jacket are all taken, in fact, from the marker colors of the drawing. So there is an overall color scheme harmony. We just decided to keep the highlight of the illustration on the front cover, and for the back cover we have opted for a flat color, and we have opted to have a quotation from the inside of the content on the back cover. We couldn't find a visual. We didn't want to get in a completely different visual which might end up making the cover look a little bizarre. So we said, okay, we'll just pull something, a nice quotation out from inside the book. Maybe people will read the quotation on the back cover. Maybe they will be tempted to open the book and read a little more. Maybe they will be tempted to then take the book home. So we are using the cover to introduce them to the content right away. This is also something that can be done. Please look at the other elements that are present here. We put at Seagull Books, we have our spine on the logo because that is mandatory. So here is the spine. We like to have a logo on the back cup, on the back flap. So there it is underneath the boxes. In a hardback jacket, please note, on the back flap, you can also put the cover credit, right? So here is the cover credit. There's my name. Please note, for a hardback jacket, you must say jacket designed by. For a paperback cover, you must say cover designed by, right? So here we are, jacket designed by Sunandini Banerjee, Seagull Books, using drawings by K.G. Subramanian, which is the name of the artist. And we have got the picture of the drawing from something called the Seagull Foundation for the Arts. So I have said images courtesy the Seagull Foundation for the Arts, Calcutta. Okay. So picture credit, cover credit, all comes here at the back. We have, this is the box that I was telling you about, this white box at the end. This is showing you all the very, very important information which is essential to sell this book in the world outside. This is what we call the barcode. The barcode is generated by a special software called the barcode software, and basically the input to arrive at this barcode, the input is your ISBN number. You as the graphic designer don't have to generate it, but you do have to plan an area where it can be placed. Please remember, barcode boxes must be on a white background. You are not allowed to have these black stripes in any color other than black, and the background of the black stripes cannot be any color other than white. This is now mandatory worldwide. Okay. We at Seagull Books sell our books in numerous geographic territories. So we have 3 prices on the back of every book. Here is the bookstore category. Here is our website. And we like to let our readers know that an e-book for this is also available. You might be looking at it at a bookshop. Maybe you don't have space, buy this book and keep it. Maybe you want to read it instantly. Maybe you've seen it in a foreign country. Maybe you don't want to carry the book around and add to your excess baggage, whatever. So we let you know that in case you don't want the print edition, an e-edition, an e-book is also available, and then you can make a note of it and download it either from Amazon or from our own website. They are available from both places. We are distributed by the University of Chicago Press in America. You can download it from their website, so on and so forth, right? But we let the reader know that an electronic version is available of this book. Another interesting thing that I want to show you today and that you should keep in mind, this therefore is my cover artwork for a hardback jacket, right? Here we go. Now, I've done this and I want to in fact send this now to my printer. I have shared it with my publisher, I've shared it with my client, I've shared it with the author. Everybody likes it, everybody has double checked the text, no problem there. Now I have to, my publisher says, okay, well done, I really like this very much. Let's send this to print. So I come to File and I come to Export As and I choose PDF. Okay, now you must make a note of all these things that I'm telling you. It's very important to remember. Click on Options. When you click on Options, you must come down to Hyperlinks. Often you'll notice in Quark, this is selected. In a cover, there will be no hyperlinks. You must deselect this. Then often Quark says, yes, create a tagged PDF. We don't really need a tagged PDF, so we'll turn this off. Compression is our very important layer of interaction. Often Quark has things that look like this. It chooses compression options for you, okay? Be aware it chooses compression options for you. However, when we are sending this to print, we want it to be full strength resolution. We don't want any compression because we want to get a good print. So here you say none, here you also say none. And here all 3, no compression. Downsample, when you choose, you make sure, often it will say 72. We don't want 72, we are sending this to print. We say 300 dpi and here we say 300 dpi, and then we come to color, and in color sometimes you'll see this option. It might say as is. You should choose composite CMYK for any design that you do that involves color. You will remember very early on I had told you offset printing is known as CMYK printing or 4-color printing because all the multiple colors that are present in your design will in fact be arrived at by the printing press by using only 4 inks: cyan, magenta, yellow and black. So the minute you have a colored book, the minute you have a book in which maybe you have used color on the pages, either in your typeface or in the use of pictures, or when you are working on a multicolored cover, remember composite CMYK, and you don't even need to engage with the rest. You can simply say, okay, save it wherever you want to on the desktop. It will generate a PDF. Now, I want to go back to the book that we were typesetting, when we began, if you will remember, when we began our practical lectures. Here were all the experiments. I was showing you with opacity of this circle, grayscale images that can be brought into Quark, etc., etc. Now, this book, even though it has pictures, the pictures are all in black. The same black ink that will be used for my printing will also be used for the pictures. Typography and image will share the black color. There is no second color. When I want to generate this PDF for print, I must keep certain other things in mind, and I'm going to point them out to you now. You come to File and you go to Export as PDF. Same place, right? Export as PDF. Now, we are not exporting a flat cover. We are exporting a book for printing. So, when we come in here, the first thing we must choose is Include Blank Pages. You will remember that whether or not the book has pictures, various parts of the book may in fact be a blank page. Suppose you have a single page table of contents on lowercase page 5. Remember the Roman numerals for the prelims or the front matter. The back of page 5 may well be blank. That blank page, that page 6 which is blank, is structurally important because it allows the main page, page 1, the first page of your main content, to fall on the right hand side. If you don't select Include Blank Pages, all the structurally important blank pages that you have inserted at numerous times in the book, you might have a flyleaf that has a blank page behind it, your very last page in the book, because a book must end on the left, you might have a blank page to finish off your book. All those blank pages will disappear and you will get a very, very confused book by the end of it. So, when you are exporting inside pages, you must turn on Include Blank Pages. You must, as I said, see over here the defaults are chosen. Say we don't want hyperlinks. We don't want a tagged PDF. When you come to compression, can you see how it has chosen various things? Again, this book has some pictures. I say none. Keep resolution. I choose downsample and I say not 72. This is now going to print. I'm going to make it 300. Here also I say none and I say downsample and I choose 300. No compression here. Can you see all the stuff that I've done? This is what it should look like. And in color, if this was a cover, we would choose Composite CMYK. Because this is a book, it only needs black ink. I will say Grayscale 100K. Can you see that the only ink that will be needed is black as it's showing up over here? And I say OK. And now I can generate this PDF somewhere on my desktop. Once it is generated, it's ready for print and I can send this off to my printer. So, very vital two things that I've taught you today is export as PDF for a cover, export as PDF for a book. When you are working on a cover and you want to send the design for approval, you want to send it as an email attachment. In that case, you may want to do a low resolution PDF, okay? A low resolution PDF, then you can go to File and you can say PDF, and then all of these options that were there. Remember, in compression, you don't need to touch any of this. Let all this be there. It can be a 72 DPI. You can say downsample to 72, downsample to 72, no problem. In color, instead of choosing CMYK, you can choose Composite RGB because RGBs generate a slightly lighter PDF. Otherwise, a CMYK PDF where everything has been downsampled to 300 will become very heavy. It may be impossible for the person to open up at the other end. Sometimes when I have to generate my final PDF for my printer, I have had occasions where it will not go as an email attachment. If you're using, for example, Gmail, Gmail does not allow you more than 25 MB. If you have many pictures in your design, if you have a book full of pictures, just the proof, just the email attachment when you are sending pages to and fro to the author, when you are sending pages to and fro to the client, they can be low resolution RGB PDFs. Okay, that's not a problem. But when you send for print, a black and white design must be a grayscale 100K PDF with no compression. If it's a multicolored design, it must be composite CMYK with no compression. In that case, if it is too large to go via email, some of you may be aware that there are email clients, there are other file transfer clients. One is called SendGB, one is called WeTransfer. You can go there, even with a free account, you can send very heavy files that ordinarily would not have gone as an email attachment. So WeTransfer, we as in, you and me, us and WeTransfer or SendGB. You don't have to even register and buy a formal account. You can use the free account. I think that lets you send and receive up to 2 gigabytes, and that is an enormous amount. So you can happily send the final high-res PDF to the printer whenever you are ready. Here, I wanted to share with you just another thing that might come up while you are working. Let me just letting this cover load a little bit. Sometimes when it has a lot of images, it takes a little bit of time to register. This is another cover, which is a hardback jacket that I have done. This is for a printer in the US. This printer, when they are ready for me to do the jacket, you will notice that here you cannot see any crop marks. This is because this particular printer does the mathematics very, very well. Okay. So what they do is they take the measurement of the back flap, they take the measurement of the back cover, they take the measurement of the spine, front cover and the front flap. They add it all up. Then they add the bleed on all 4 sides. And then they send me a very, very precise, can you see here, 19.969, height is 9 inches, and this printer likes 0.125 inch bleed on all 4 sides. So they send me the total final document size, in which, just as I have taught you, I start with this flap, I draw a box, I say, okay, this is my flap size, height is so much, and I place it here, then I step and repeat exactly as I have taught you. But here what happens is, top to bottom, this particular document already includes the bleed area. It is an exact measurement calculated by the printer. When I send this to them as a high resolution PDF, they print it out and then they simply, chop off 0.125 inches on all 4 sides and they are left with their cover. This is a system they have come up with. Many printers follow this system where the crop marks have become superfluous. But this, the printer will tell you. You must have a conversation with the printer when you decide to send them the PDF and say, do you want it with crop marks? Do you need, 0.118 or 3 mm bleed? Or do you need more bleed? How much? If so, etc. This is a conversation you need to have with the printer. They will guide you. In this case, this particular printer that I work with, they always send me like a drawing on a sheet of paper where they show me the measurements of each box. They do the maths and they give me the total measurement for the document, and I simply place all the boxes knowing this takes into account bleed on all 4 sides. They will get it, they will print it, they will crop off their bleed from all 4 sides, and I will be left with my finished document. Okay. So the artwork might differ from printer to printer. Don't panic. Just ask them how they want it and make sure that you deliver according to their specifications. Here is another cover that I wanted to show you. Here we go. You'll notice this cover actually is very interesting because this has a very unusual spine. It was so thick, the spine was so thick and so substantial that I did not have to rotate my spine boxes. Okay. So if you have a very healthy spine, as I would call it, then you don't have to panic and you can in fact leave the writing in the same direction as the title. You don't have to flip. This happens very rarely. Very thick books are no longer necessarily being produced for the commercial market. Most publishers, in fact, are quite frightened of very thick books and are encouraging writers to write smaller and smaller. This I'll show you. If I start deleting my boxes, you'll be able to see how many pictures there are here. This is one, okay? But what you can't see is actually that in the background is an original picture. If you look here, you can see. Can you see that? This crow on the back cover is the same crow as the crow on the front cover. I have merely flipped him or her in the box, and within the box, I have made them a little larger, right? Within the box, my box remaining constant, I have simply flipped the crow and then made the crow bigger so that on the front cover, you get this effect as if he or she is peeping out from the side. That's one picture. This is another. Can you see? This is the same picture as the half moon that you can see over there on the front. This is the same half moon. It's actually a circle that looks like this. I have created the half moon by simply closing the box. And this is another picture in the back. All of these colors except the red, this slightly off-white color, this slightly yellowy gray color, all of this I have chosen from these pictures. If I go to window and I show you my colors, here we are. Okay. All of these I have in fact chosen with the eyedropper tool by clicking, right? By clicking as I have taught you. So sometimes, actually, if you notice these two pictures, the landscapey picture on the front cover and this tree on the back cover, they are by the same artist, but they are not very big. They are not going to fill my front cover. So instead of complaining, I have kept the small size deliberate, as if I had planned it like this all along. It gives me a lot more space for my title. We have even put a little poem on the back cover. As you can see, I'm highlighting that here, right? And I've put into my spine box also, I can bring pictures, because remember, we had drawn a picture box and then we have put color, etc. So in the spine box also, you can bring a picture to sit behind your text, but the priority is to make sure that readability of the text is not affected. Artwork on the spine should support the book's title. Readers should not be confused. They should not have to squint. Sometimes if they're in a bookshop and they're going past bookshelves and they can't read a particular spine, they just may not bother to stop. They will just carry on to the next book. So you may even lose a potential customer if you have a very busy or a very cluttered spine, right? So you can keep that in mind, and not every picture that you find on the internet is going to be a full size, lovely 300 dpi enormous image. You may often find smaller images, but then if you are clever with your design, you can bypass that and you can make it seem as if it was a deliberate choice to use an image smaller than your full size. There's another cover over here. This is one of my own very favorite jackets. This is a book called In My Heart by a writer called Sofonia Machabe Mofokeng. It is translated from the Sesotho. And in the book, I was first wondering how I'm going to possibly interpret a book called In My Heart. How do I show it? It's actually a book of very beautiful essays. It's non-fiction. It's not a book for children. I can't have a big red heart appearing in the middle of the screen, right? It's not a cute comic book like that. It's very serious content. It's actually very beautiful content. So one of the things I did when I approached this cover design is I actually looked at the manuscript. I read the introduction and then I read the table of contents, because this was a book of essays. And then in the table of contents, I noticed that there was one particular essay that was on the river. And then I was a bit intrigued because I was looking for visual clues. I wanted it to be a very beautiful book. It's a very unusual language from which it has been translated. There are not too many, if at all, any English translations from the Sesotho. So I wanted this book to look so beautiful and so attractive that people would be forced to stop for a moment and look at it. I make a special effort for, obscure books or unknown authors because I feel that they really need a push in the English language, and we must give them extra beautiful books so that people read them and discover how wonderful they are, even though at first glance they may not be as well known as a lot of other English language writers. So this is part of our publishing ethos. This is part of our, publishing, our sense of community, that we don't save the best book covers only for the more famous writers and so on. And here I noticed in the table of contents, there was an essay on the river. So I went into the book and I read that essay, and it's a beautiful meditation on this particular writer, remembering his hometown and how this river runs through it and what that river represents to him. And so you have here this big blue line that I created out of various drawings, and I've put on my design. And the front cover, as I've told you often, the front cover is done first. So once I did the front cover, I have simply taken the colors of some of this vegetation, some of these little flowers and landscapes, because when I read some more of the essays, I realized that this was a person who was very, very connected, quite literally, to the land. He was very connected to the earth, to the, the landscape, the nature of, where he lived, where he grew up. So I've exploited that love for nature, that adoration for all that was natural and, that he had seen from his childhood. And the front cover, its color scheme, its image treatment, that dictated then the rest of the cover artwork when it was time for me to finish it. Because remember, the front cover happens first. The rest of it happens much, much later, finally, when the editors have finished editing the book and they are ready to, they send the pages to print. They have typed, somebody has typeset that book, somebody has proofread that book, fixed all the last minute little corrections and so on. Then they have generated a grayscale 100K PDF and sent it to print. And then the printer often gives you the measurements for the jacket or the rest of the cover, and then the designer has to artwork it. So we have covered, therefore, through all of these lectures, through all these conversations that I've been having with you, even though I don't know where you live and where you are, I believe that if you are interested in reading, if you are interested in observing the world around you, if you have an interest in looking at objects and how they exist in space, you have the beginnings of a book designer, because what good book designers do is always worry about either a block of text or an image, how it fits onto the space of the page, how it fits onto the space of a cover, and how it interacts with objects around it. You are perhaps already practicing good design, but you are unaware of it. The clothes you wear, or the way you keep your things in your room, how you arrange the food on your plate, all of this you are already unconsciously practicing design, because you are arranging things by convenience, by necessity, by the costs that are available to you. We all have limitations, and we are operating within those limitations to make the best of the life that we have, to make the best of the circumstances that we have been presented with. And that is, in effect, the sum total of good design, to make the best possible use, to represent in the best possible way the material and the content that you have been handed. And you must therefore always begin and end with, what is it that I am designing? Who am I designing for?
Hi, my name is Gillette Sam and I teach sociology at IIT Kanpur. I'm here to tell you a little bit about how we can think about globalization in a sociological manner. Now, one of the important concepts in the field of globalization and particularly global studies is that of global flows. It's a term that was developed by the sociologist and anthropologist Arjun Appadurai. He said that as the world is becoming a more and more global place, you increasingly see the movement of different types of things, both tangible and non-tangible, across multiple national borders. To begin with, you can look at how your day proceeds. I often need a cup of tea to actually start my day. Now, if you think about it, tea that we drink is not something that is that originated in India. It's actually a drink that comes to us from quite far away in China. And this is something that has happened not immediately, but it has happened 400 or 500 years ago. So this kind of movement actually happened with the movement of people. Now, this kind of movement of people and goods is one category of flows that Appadurai talks about. A second category of flows could be financial flows. And a good way to think about this is the kind of volatility that you can see in economic markets today. For instance, in 2008, the whole world experienced a very serious economic jolt. Developments in the country of Iceland had a huge repercussion across many countries in the world. Now that gives you an indication of the kind of financial flows that are a part of globalization. So we are not only talking about money flowing from place to place, but also financial decisions made in one place having an impact on other parts of the world. Appadurai also argues that there is a third category of flows which he refers to as the flow of images or media. Now, this is something that I'm sure you're quite used to. Much of the programming that you watch on television today, for instance, you may actually be watching channels that have originated or programming that's originated elsewhere. More than that, it could also be that the programming that you see today is influenced by shows that have originated abroad. Similarly, you can have content that was made in India, which makes its way to other places in the world. For instance, we know that Bollywood films are extremely popular in many countries across Africa. So this kind of movement of media is, Appadurai considers it to be an important part of globalization. The fourth category that he talks about is the movement of ideas. So this means that ideas that are popular in one part of the world are not restricted to that part alone, but they actually travel across borders. So for instance, something that you may read about in the papers would be, say, events such as gay pride events. Now, gay pride events have their origin in places like New York. But the idea that there should be equality between people, irrespective of what their sexual preference is, that is an idea that has now become popular across the world. And so that's the fourth category of flows that he referred to. The fifth category of flows that Appadurai talks about is that of technology. An easy way to think about this is, let's say tomorrow there is news announced that Apple is going to release iPhone 7. As you can anticipate, there is going to be a lot of excitement in many parts of the world, and people are going to start queuing up waiting for those products to actually come to their country. So, technology is something that is quite exciting and really moves across various national borders.
I am A.K. Sharma and I am Professor of Sociology at IIT Kanpur. The question I am going to address is what is urbanization? Urbanization is essentially the process of population concentration, which means that if more people start living in a smaller number of places, or if the distribution of population becomes more unequal, like more people living in places like Bombay, Calcutta, Mexico, then we say that the urbanization is taking place. Essentially, it means increase in percentage of population living in areas or localities which are defined as urban. Urbanization is a new phenomenon, of course, a post-industrial phenomenon. About 200 years ago, hardly 5% population of the world lived in urban areas, and today more than 50% population of the world is living in urban areas or localities which are classified as urban. You will be happy to know that according to 2011 census of India, in our own country for the first time, increase in the urban population has been greater than the increase in the rural population, though India is not so urban as the developed countries, and about 31% population of India only is living in urban areas. We can believe that in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years time, India will also be more urban, at least more urban than what it is. It may not be 80%, but certainly it will be 35% or 40%. Now, how is this urban locality defined? Because this definition of locality as urban or rural is crucial to measure level of urbanization. I will give you definition of our own country. In Indian census, an urban locality is defined in two ways. There are statutory towns and there are census towns. All places with municipality, municipal corporation, cantonment or notified town area committees are called urban. This is statutory definition. According to demographic definition, there are three main criteria. If a locality has more than 5,000 people or 75% of male labor force is engaged in non-agricultural activities, or the density of population is 400 per square kilometer or 1000 per square mile, then we say that the locality may be classified as urban. There are many other additions to this definition. Now, we have the concept of urban agglomeration and many other things, but essentially this is how urban population is defined in India. And as I said that urbanization is associated with economic development and industrialization, same is the case with India. About 100 years ago in India, only 11% people were living in urban areas. Today 31% are living in urban areas, and this is obviously linked with economic development of the country, growth of per capita income and industrialization. I remember that in one 5-year plan it was mentioned that today this urban population can grow by way of natural increase of births minus deaths in the urban areas itself or through rural to urban migration. Today nearly 60% contribution to growth of urban population is due to rural to urban migration, and this is going to increase. This is essentially what urbanization means. Urbanization means growth of population in localities defined as urban in relation to population of localities defined as rural, and I have given you Indian definition. Thank you very much.